whenever you're trying to think of how to build a course, you always say, well, there's an infinite amount of material to cover. What can I actually get to? And this semester, we cut back a little bit on talking about cost-benefit analysis and using, numbers to help us arrive at our decisions, writing the public policy analysis paper, and the things that are expected. In the past, I had always told students, refer back to Module 3. And what I found was that quite often students would think they had, or would remember an awful lot from Module 3 as they saw it. But then when push came to shove, maybe there would be some important element of the course that we talked about way back several weeks ago that you no longer remember. By putting it up here in Module 9, I'm giving you an opportunity again to treat as the material for this week the learning that you should do in order to help write the paper. So we have as a review the video that I gave to be an introduction to Module 9, the directions for the public policy analysis paper. You should refer back to the directions as you're writing your paper. Make sure that you're actually answering the questions that you thought you were answering, or that all of the questions and all of the elements of the paper match those in the directions. Second, I would say that you should look at the rubric. Quite often, you should be able to grade this paper yourself. You should know full well the grade that you're going to get if you can honestly assess whether you've done the things that are listed. If you say, well, I didn't quite understand that element. Maybe I didn't quite do that right, or I'm questioning whether I did that right. And then you look and you see where in the rubric it lists, maybe an imperfect knowledge of a certain element, maybe your research, maybe the clarity of your writing, maybe the amount of proofreading you had done, or the quality of your sources. So if you look back through that rubric, it should give you a really good idea on how to fix your paper, or if not how to fix your paper, at least the grade you're most likely to get, so that you don't have a disappointing surprise. We also have the elements of a good policy paper is a PowerPoint slide presentation. I strongly hope that you look at this. If you're unaware of some of these elements that I've talked about, well, don't be surprised if that catches up to you. But at the same time, if you've utilized that PowerPoint slide, I bet you it helps you a good deal on your paper. Next, you might want to look at the policy analysis paper checklist. This is a checklist I put together a couple semesters ago with the idea that you would be able to look at it and compare it to what you had done. Say you have a finished paper, or as you see it a finished paper, go back through the checklist and say, does my paper contain all of these key elements? And if it does, I think you're in a pretty good position to do well. If you followed the directions, you followed the checklist, you looked at the elements of a good policy paper, all of a sudden you're probably looking at a really strong paper if you fulfilled all of the targets that those set. And then I also included a note on source quality. Now, you probably have looked at all of this in the past, but now that you have a paper that's nearing completion, maybe you should look back and say, do I need to strengthen the sources a little bit? Is there something that's missing? Is there something that if I could find it, no reasonable person could disagree with me? And if it's there, then you can be quite happy. If it's missing, well, you still have a chance. I haven't seen your paper yet. You still have a chance to put it in and really strengthen your paper. Remember, nobody's looking for a blog done by a friend of yours, or even to see you quote a video that I've put out earlier this semester. Published material is what is ideal, And next to that, really, really high quality, well-known and respected practitioners should be your next goal. Government documents, things like this can really help your paper. I strongly recommend that you go and you look at the video. The video that I did for last semester, I have left in this module so that you will be able to look at it and get some tips on how to improve your paper. So what are you trying to do as you write the public policy analysis paper? I think quite often one of the main things that students forget when they're writing any paper, any term paper for any course, is that the goal is that they show that they've learned a great deal in the course. The person who is your instructor in any course imagines when they design the course that they're giving you information that will help you write a good policy analysis, or if you were taking international relations, a good international relations term paper. If you're taking a course on baking, right, they're probably at the end of the semester, they ask you to come up with a great recipe and send you that great recipe. And, you know, if the class was about using eggs, then they would be very disappointed if your great recipe didn't include eggs anywhere. And, you know, you say, well, I'm not a person who eats eggs. They would respect that and they'd say, okay, well, what's your egg substitute? And so if you can show me in your paper that you disagreed with an element of the course and then you showed where somebody else has come up with a better way of doing it, well, then show me both that you understand the material that you're rejecting and that you have a better idea that you're using to replace it. And I would have only respect for that decision. But if you just give me an alternative way of handling the problem and you don't spell out to me any understanding of the way the course was taught, then, you know, you should expect me to be a little bit skeptical that you haven't utilized any of the ideas from the course to improve your research and writing. Public policy analysis is a little bit different than what you've done in the past. Most people in political science have really spent most of their career as a student, studying things that are not policy analysis. Instead, they have utilized things such as politics and their opinion and what their English teacher taught them about how to write a paper. All of these are good, but we're building on this, right? You know, when you're in a trigonometry class and you're trying to calculate something given an angle and a side, you can't really say, well, but this isn't what my algebra teacher taught me. So I hope that you're able to utilize some key elements from the course. I hope particularly that the things that we looked at up to the midterms, such as the stages of policy analysis, the policy streams model, the punctuated equilibrium model, Downesian mobilization. You know, you're going to be asked to show that your policy is politically feasible. Well, ideas such as Downesian mobilization are important. Remember now you've looked at Gillen's discussion. You've looked at Coase. There's many different videos that we showed during the course of the semester that should be utilized if possible and if necessary to help write the paper. If you're bringing something from the outside, be careful that there was nothing on the inside. There's nothing from class that would have answered that question just as well. When I say that you should probably have in the neighborhood of 14 sources, well, you know, some of those sources should certainly be Bardock and should be Stone and should be some of these people like Munger and Gillen's and Coase. that have been used elsewhere. If you're looking into something like the welfare economics, if you're looking at something related to goals, certainly tell me what goals your policy is trying to attain. So in any case, if you can go through and look at each of the modules and say, well, what did I learn? And is there a way that I can utilize it in the paper? I think that this will benefit you a great deal. Now, I don't think everything that was covered in the course will directly affect your particular policy. You know, each of you has selected a unique policy. Even those of you who've picked the same policies as others are taking a different approach than the other person in the class who's done it. So I think that it could be really fascinating to see how you've utilized material, but it doesn't have to be all of it, but it should be some of it. Now, I wish you all well. You still have some time to get in touch with me if you're having a problem. You still have time to get in touch with me if you are concerned about something that's going on with your ability to get the paper done. But in addition to that, I'm still willing to help if you have a question. One thing that we won't really have a lot of time for is extensions on the back end of the course, right? The end of the semester and the due date of the assignment are pretty much concurrent. So I strongly recommend that as soon as you are able, that you finish the paper. But that does not mean that I should be looking at your first draft, that the first time that you write what you think is the last word, that there isn't some editing after that. I've heard people say that sometimes the best thing to write last is your introduction, because you know what you're going to show. And I would also say you are not aiming for the surprise shock ending. It is totally okay if in the introduction you tell me what you're going to find, if in the conclusion you tell me what you found, and everything should follow in between. But I think if what you've done so far is any indication, most of you are going to be in really good stead. If there's anything at all that's going to stop you from finishing this paper and completing this course, you have time to talk to me. Don't let that time go by. Thank you. Good luck, and I will be available to you henceforth